All right, this is my take on DiCamillo's bread. So I'm gonna start with just one bowl, and I'm using a weighing scale, and I'm only using 5 ingredients. So I'm gonna start with 325 grams of water. So I've zeroed the scale with the bowl. I'm using water that's a little bit warmer than room temperature. I put it in the microwave for a little while. It's like 80 degrees. So I want 325 grams of water. And I'm making a double batch. I'm making two 250 gram loaves. So that'd be like 2 small DiCamillo loaves. All right, so I'm looking for 325. That's a little bit over 325, it's pretty close. That is exactly 325. Then I'm gonna mix in some yeast, and I'm gonna mix in 7 grams of yeast. So that's not very much yeast. I'm just using instant dry yeast. So let me zero this out. 7 grams of yeast is probably a couple teaspoons full, about like that. So, yep, that was 3. That's 6. We're gonna go a little bit more. Didn't do it yet. There's 7. All right. Then I'm gonna mix that up in the bowl so I don't have any clumps of yeast. No sugar. The warm water is just gonna wake up the yeast. That's probably good enough. When we knead it in with all the other ingredients, that'll be just fine. Spoon is good. All right, we zero out the scale again. And we're gonna go with 500 grams of flour. So this is bread flour, high protein, high gluten, strong bread flour. All right, 500 grams of flour. There's 300, 420, there's 70, 80, 490, 500, exactly, perfect. All right, and then we're gonna go with 10 grams of salt. So I need to grab salt. Zero that out. 10 grams of salt is a couple of those. So that was about 6. Call that 10. All right. And then I'm gonna zero it out. We're gonna go 15 grams of olive oil. Perfect. And then we're gonna mix it all together, and I'm using this plastic thing. It's kind of like the end of a spatula that the handle broke off of. I'm gonna use that to mix all this together. That's all the ingredients we're gonna use, and we're not gonna dirty any more bowls or any mixing cups or anything else. So I'm just gonna go ahead and mix this up in the bowl. When it's mixed up as good as it can be, we're gonna pour it out onto the countertop and start kneading it. It's gonna be a little bit of a mess when we start kneading it at first because it's a very wet dough, but after 10 minutes of kneading, it'll start coming together real nice. So I feel like that's about as good as we're gonna get things to mix together in the bowl. So I'm gonna clear the top off and then pour it out onto the countertop and start kneading it. No water on the countertop, no extra flour on the countertop. This is all the ingredients for the bread. Okay, so that's as mixed as it's gonna get. Out it goes. I'm gonna scrape everything I can out of this bowl. You see what it looks like inside that bowl, because I wanna use this bowl for proofing the dough. That is gonna be good enough. All right, this is the messy part. I'm gonna start my watch. I'm gonna knead for 10 minutes. It's gonna be messy, but the dough will come together nicely in a while. So you can see the dough has no strength to it at all right now. We'll do that again at the end, and it'll be much different. 5 minutes. So that dough is still nice and wet. We can keep that. See how strong is it? Yeah, a little bit better. Not there yet. Woo! All right, so there's 10 minutes. Let's take a check. Yeah, that's nice and strong. All right, so the whole time the bottom was on the bottom, I'm gonna flip it over, and that is, from now on, that is gonna be the top of the dough, the part that becomes the crust. We're just gonna let it sit there for 3 minutes and rest. Okay, 3 minutes are up. So now we're gonna start putting a little skin tension in it, and then we're gonna let it proof. So first thing we gotta do is get it unstuck from the table here. Remember, this is gonna be the crust side of our bread. So we're gonna put that side down, just put a little light dusting of flour down there. We're gonna put that side down. You see it, very wet dough. And we're gonna start building skin tension. So I'm gonna pull up and stick it into itself, and pull up and stick it into itself. So I'm stretching the underside, the side that's gonna be the top. So we're just gonna keep going around, we'll go around a couple times. There you go. Then kind of do one of these to pull it in nice and tight. We're building some tension. We don't want it to rip, but we're building some skin tension into what's going to be the crust. Our bowl from earlier, we're just gonna set that into the bowl. And dust the top just a little bit, keep it from drying out. We're gonna cover it with the towel, and we're gonna let it sit there for 75 minutes. Okay, 75 minutes later, let's take a look. Oh yeah. Okay, that's a lot bigger. It's good to see. So I'm just gonna free it up from the edge of the bowl. Now remember, this is the top side. This is the part that's gonna be the crust, so we just gotta maintain that. So I'm gonna pull it away from the edge of the bowl. It's starting to deflate a little bit. And let's just pop it out. There you go. So we have a sticky side, wet side. Oh, there's a big bubble right there. Sticky side, wet side, the crust side's underneath. I'm gonna cut it into 2 pieces because I wanna make 2 loaves out of this. Kind of about there. Yeah, easy. There you go, that's close enough. All right, let's do the first one. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of flour, a little dusting on the bottom. Degas it a little bit. Now we're gonna pull it same way we did before to make skin tension on what's going to be the crust side. So I'm pulling that one in, pulling that one in, pulling that one in. Continue around for a couple times. I can feel the skin's getting nice and tight on the bottom, which will be the top right now. So I'm sort of cupping my hands underneath it to continue to build that skin tension. And I'm just gonna set that off to the side. That will be 1 loaf. We're gonna let that rest for 15 minutes. We're gonna do the same thing on this other one, a little dust. And we're gonna start pulling it in. It kind of has no structure yet, but I can feel it getting firmer and firmer. Skin on the bottom, which will be the top, is there you go. I like that. All right, let's finish it up. That's gonna be our second loaf, and we're just gonna set that here. I'm gonna cover it, put a little dust on it, and cover it for 15 minutes and let that rest. All right, 15 minutes have gone by. The loaves have rested. So we're gonna form them up for the last time. I'm just put a little dusting of flour on the table right here. Scrape one of these bad boys up. Again, remember, this is the crust side. We've been maintaining that side as the crust side. We're gonna flip it over into the flour. We have a sticky side on the bottom, very wet dough. And now we're just gonna sort of flatten it down. I'd like it to take sort of a rectangular shape, oval shape, let's say. Okay, so now, this is the last step to form the skin tension. So I'm gonna give it a little pull, and I'm gonna roll it and tuck it down with my thumbs, and roll and tuck it down with my thumbs, and repeat that, sort of stretch and roll and pinch it. There's some big bubbles in there, and that's okay. Kind of squish that corner in, that corner in. I like how this one came out. There's a big bubble there. I'm gonna leave that one there. So I'm doing the same thing to get that skin tension built up. Almost looks like a baguette. I'm gonna call that one good enough. I'm gonna set it in here. It's a piece of parchment paper, and there's a rolled up towel in the middle. So now we're gonna do the same thing on the second loaf. Kind of sticky. The top side right here goes down. Give it a little degas, sort of rectangular shape. Let's call that good enough. All right, here we go. So we give it a little stretch and pinch, stretch and pinch, a little roll and tuck. I heard all that air. Add a little tuck underneath. Tighten up the skin here. All right. And I'm gonna set this one on the other side of that towel. Not sure I need the towels, but I want the dough to rise up and not flatten out. I feel like that's pretty well formed. It's not gonna flatten out, but I'm putting the towels in there anyway. Do the same thing over here. A little bit of room to grow. A little dusting of flour. A little too much there. Cover it up, and then we're gonna let this sit for about 60 minutes. We'll check it, see how it's going. The towels also keep that this white thing from putting a whole lot of weight on it too, so I like that. All right, we're gonna let that sit for 60 minutes. Okay, so 60 minutes have gone by. These have done their rising, so I'm gonna pull these towels out. About 30 minutes ago, I turned the oven on and put a tray of water in the oven also, so it's a sort of a humid environment in there. All right, I have one of these razor blades right here, kind of an old-fashioned shaving blade, and I'm going to slit this all the way down the side, and hopefully this dough will rise a little bit more in the oven once we put it in there. And instead of tearing, it'll just sort of rise in that slit area. Okay, let's take this over to the oven, and I'm going to slide this parchment paper onto the cooking stone. It's hot. Alrighty. And we're going to leave that in there for 40 minutes. All right, so they've been in here for 40 minutes. Let's go ahead and shut that off. And you can see how they rised up real nice after we put them in the oven. Oh yeah, oh that looks good. So let's, it's hot, so let's listen. Oh yeah, that's what we like to hear. Kind of that hollow sound. So we'll set that there to cool. Grab this other one. Oh, that looks so good. Set that over here to cool. We'll wait 45 minutes and then we'll cut one open. Okay, so let's see how we did. Let's see what we got. Oh, that sounds good. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That looks good. All right.